Welcome to this short video presentation about our new DS16A display module. It's 12 characters by 2 lines, it's backlit, it's very easy to use. Simply plug it into the left side of your RTU, and if you've got the current firmware, an application running in your RTU, the firmware will manage the display contents for you. There's 2 buttons, left and right, that allow you to select which module you'd like information about, and then there's up and down buttons that allow you to scroll around through the channels or the information display. A quick look at the concept of how it works. Selecting the module, so in the case of module 0 being the CPU, it returns things like its firmware version and date and time. And this RTU is in UTC mode, as we see on the second display up there. If we were to select the power supply module over on the right hand side there, we see that the power supply module will give us load, output voltage, output current, input voltage. If we then selected the analog input module, we could scroll around and see the values of all 8 channels. In this particular RTU, we then have an analog output module. We would see those 2 channels. We have a couple of digital input modules. We would see 4 groups of 10 status displays, 0 to 9, 10 to 19 for each of the modules. We also have a 12 channel output module. We can fit the status of all 12 of those on that display. So the left and right buttons would simply move us around between the different modules, and the up and down buttons would allow us to see the channel information for the analogs, or the second group for the digitals, or more information from the power supply. We look at our demo RTU. As we press the left and right buttons. Pressing the right button, we're just rolling around at the different modules that are on this test rack. If we select module 0, we're looking in the CPU, seeing date and time, the firmware version number. If we move to the power supply module, we're seeing the load, the output voltage, the output current, and the input voltage. And if we move to the next module, being the digital input module, we see the state of the first 10 channels, the next 10 channels. We move to our analog input module, we can see our 8 channels. We give our second channel a change of analog value. We see it changing on the screen here. The digital output module, we don't have anything turned on at present. Let's just have a look at an example of how we manage the user display from the logic application. We've got a function that allows us to read the state of the display keys. So we've got our left and right and our up and down buttons. I'm doing a little trick here, checking to see if any 2 buttons are pressed. If the 2 buttons are pressed, we're putting it into a sort of a demo mode, and then using the up and down buttons to increment and decrement through an index, like a list of different displays that we want to see. In the middle here, we just show the code. When it's, for example, index 4, we're going to show the RTU date by doing a write to display, where we have some text that says RTU date, carriage return, and then we're asking the clock for the date, and we're formatting it in date with day, month, year. So if we look on the top right there, we see that that's what it would look like on the display. So just a few examples of how you might have some user content, whether it's state of alarms or some analog values, or you can even look into status information such as the name of your project or the project version. In the bottom right there, we're looking and finding the IP address of LAN 1, and we're also showing whether it's connected or not. Just down the bottom there, we're showing a few special codes. So escape, so using $R to make a new line, $FF will make a solid block, $DB will make an empty block. So useful for showing the state of something. So we press 2 keys, we invoke the demo mode, then use the up and down key. We can see some example text, the RTU date we talked about, time, some state information, reading the RTU temperature, example of showing alarms, battery voltage, the project name, the project version number, when did the RTU last start and on what date. And here's an example of showing the IP address LAN 1 and IP address of LAN 2. If I take out the cable for LAN 2, you see that that little connection block changes. Plug it back in again, the RTU is going to detect that it's present, and we'll just change back to LAN 1 and prove we've got the same trick happening on LAN 1.
Let's now look at a wastewater pump station application. We can take the display panel and use it to show the level of a wet well, the state of pumps, the position of set points, whether the well is filling or emptying, and we can show alarm status information, pump status information, hours run, litres pumped, etc. Just going to show a little local HMI so we can see what's happening live. We can see the display panel also showing start and stop positions, state of the pumps, the well levels, just as it's shown on the HMI. We can put the display in various modes. We can make it auto scroll, you can make it pause and resume, step backwards and forwards through those displays. So just useful as a way to see where the set points are at. We see if we change the value from 70 to 55, we see it change on the RTU. There's also, so here, put it back into scroll mode, and it's just going to step around and show all the set points, alarm states, etc. So I hope that's enough to have you understand. There's a lot you can do with the display. If you need some more information, please jump onto Brodersen.com. Thank you.